Welcome back. I'm currently building a scene so that we can bring in Philip Bittner at the top of the next hour, and just a lot of stuff going on over there. Plenty to cover. I hesitate to even like start down that road because there's so much to discuss.
Yeah.
One of there's a lot of things about the Chinese system that I've spoken about over the last few years. Having been there a lot, speaking the language, knowing a lot of people who live there, knowing a lot of people who worked there in the past. A lot has happened in that arena in the last little bit. But one of the things that most people know about, I think, Chinese business and sort of social structure that's still very big in the government over there too, is the concept of face, not embarrassing someone in public, and
Mm.
giving them a little bit of like credit and space in a moment, to not embarrassing someone and giving them respect, are very crucial to the regular interactions that go on in regular society, but way more so even in the Communist Party. And again, a couple of details. The People's Liberation Army of China is often called the Chinese Army. People talk about this a lot. The Chinese Army, the Chinese Navy, the Chinese Army. It's not. The army that you know of as the Chinese Army is the People's Liberation Army. It is the army of the Communist Party. It is not a national army. It does not fight for the Chinese people. It fights to preserve the Communist Party. So imagine if the Republicans or the Democrats or the Green Party had their own army, and when they took power, that army is now in charge of all military endeavors in the country. Which I know where your brain immediately went. If they, what's to stop them from attacking their own citizens with that army, since it's not really the army for the people and of the people and by the people, it's for a specific party to maintain control. And
Yeah.
you would be exactly right. That is why there is no delineation between cops and soldiers on the streets of China. Because they fight for the party, not for the people. The ironic name, People's Liberation Army, is hilarious if it wasn't so shocking and frightening. Okay, just so
Yeah.
you know that. It's a crucial thing because again, people tend to think in terms of their own societies. I think it's one of the reasons why we gave Russia as much credit as we have over the years, because we've got nukes, they've got a lot of nukes, they must be as good as ours, that kind of stuff. We think in those terms, and it's just not the case. So, but in among the leaders in China, there's a lot of issues with people giving each other face and respect. And right now, Xi Jinping, who I think has the least genuine personality of any world leader in history. Like
Really?
of all the yeah, of all think of all the great leaders in history, both good and bad. From ask not what your country can do for you to "Agen the flag and the flagging," to like Mussolini, to Barack Obama. The personality, across the spectrum in terms of populism and control of a large population, is crucial. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping is basically like a pat of butter running a country. He's so
Mm.
dull and kind of, it's almost shocking that he has managed to create this kind of cult of personality around him where everybody doesn't, and it's largely due to projection. It's also largely due to the power of the seat that he holds, and the fear that if he's not saying anything, he's thinking something bad about me, and I better keep my mouth shut. So it's not really it's the personality of the Communist Party in China that has that is the Mussolini in this situation, that is the Mao Zedong in this situation, that is the Hitler in this situation, that is the Vladimir Putin or Kadyrov or whatever. So Um, and there are other people though that have had, you know, fairly big personalities and have run the party and, you know, been known to have just character as human beings that people are genuinely aware of, like Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin. Hu Jintao is, I believe he was the last leader. Um, yeah, he was like I like those guys. Like I keep swapping their position, but Hu Jintao used to be in Xi's position, and he's old. He's 80 years old. Is 79, I think. Anyways, he was seated at the 20th Party Congress right next to Xi Jinping this whole time. And there's this idea that there's this faction of, you know, old school, that they call them the Shanghai faction. These are the business leader factions who want the country to be more open, that want more interaction with the West. They you know, they like the idea of socialism with Chinese characteristics, but what they're really looking at is managed capitalism, because that's what actually helped their people go from abject poverty to, you know, the #2 economy in the world. That's what caused it. The opening up caused it, not any actions by the government. Just flatly, that's where the money came from. And Hu Jintao knows this, and Jiang Zemin's people knew this, and that crowd lately has been making a bit of noise about how Xi Jinping has kind of screwed up the country. And Hu Jintao had been sitting right next to Xi Jinping as kind of this alignment of, you know, we're carrying this forward, and this is going to be, you know, almost like the peaceful transfer of power idea that we have. And oh, that's weird.
That's got to be Phil, right?
Huh? Oh, that's got to be Phil coming in. It totally is. Hold on. Yep, it is. Hold on. Oh, he's in a restaurant. That's fun. Hold on. I'm going to mute him for a second until I bring him in.
That's fun.
Because he's in, yeah. Hold on. Yeah, he's in a restaurant. Look at that. Yeah, that's awesome. We'll see you in a second, Phil. Give me a minute. But Hu Jintao was escorted out of the 20th Party Congress yesterday as he was sitting right next to Xi Jinping. Someone walked over, basically tapped him on the shoulder, and walked him out. Unless he was having a heart attack at the time, he had one after. Nobody's saying why, but two people basically came over. He wasn't passing out at the time. He wasn't nodding off. He wasn't grasping his chest. You know, none of that. And maybe he has a button under his desk. I'm not feeling well. Come get me. But I doubt it.
Oh, yeah.
But two men came over. And as he was leaving, he turned to say something to Xi Jinping, and then touched Li Keqiang, the premier, on his shoulder as he was leaving. And that's it. That's all we know.
Wow.
And unless he was collapsing, there was some people were either trying to get up to talk to him, or there was, it was a little bit of a bustle around it as he started getting near the edge of the stage. But they just walked him out. Now, again, he's old and frail and what have you, but he wasn't passing out at the table. And his standing as one of the people who was about opening up the country cannot be overlooked in this situation, as they are about to install, because Hu Jintao and all these other guys served their 2 terms, and that was it. They did what their party constitution says, which is 2 terms and you're done. Xi is rewriting that and putting himself in for a 3rd term, therefore a forever term. And Hu Jintao would be one of the people who would object, technically speaking. And if he just raised his hand at any point when they object to the idea, an entire section of the room would agree with him. And without that unanimous agreement, Xi Jinping's leadership wouldn't go forward. So they walked him out of the room in front of everybody, in front of 2,000 people. Chinese media has scrubbed that from the internet.
Oh,
on
wow.
in China. Um, we'll be back right after this. Philip Ittner's joining us from Party City, apparently in Ukraine.
Oh,
Right.
I hope he's wearing a screen mask.
Oh dear God! Don't give me any ideas. All right, we'll be back. It's the House Sports Radio program, mega worldwide, live streaming at infotainmentwars.com.